See, there's a big mistake we are making when we're talking about reforms. The number one difference is sincerity. Did the leader come to serve or did he come to steal? The biggest threat to economic reform in Nigeria in my entire adult life have been two things: corruption and state capture. So when the Emir of Kano is saying that you're advising people, listen, I confess, Papayo Sanyim was there. In Jonathan's government, I know Jonathan would like me saying it. I was on the economic team. Half the time, when I was arguing about what should be done for the economy and for Nigeria, people in the villa told me to my hearing, you see, if we listen to everything Atedo is saying, we came in here poor, we will leave poor. He's saying these things because he already has money. So it's not that people don't know the correct things. Let's not deceive ourselves. Corruption and state capture is driving people to pursue policies that give them a chance to capture an increasing slice of what belongs to everybody for themselves. So they are deliberately, so even when the Emir of Kano goes to advise, he said the former President Buhari, and he leaves, there are people around him who know why they want a different policy. And it's about state capture and corruption. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm told by those from Abia, I'm not from your state. People from Abia tell me that the biggest difference between this governor and the past, he's the only one that came to serve. I don't know whether it's true or not, but let's just imagine it is true. So if somebody did not come to serve, and you're talking about fiscal and monetary reform, the guy came to steal. So forget it. As he increased the revenue for everybody, he hijacks the bulk of it. Haven't we seen governors in this current regime who have taken the extra revenue to go and buy luxury SUVs for Emirs and so on? Is that what the revenue is for? I'm not saying you're a beneficiary. So don't be afraid. So the point I'm making is that, and the finance minister is not the one in charge. He cannot stop a governor from taking the increased revenue from all these good measures and misusing it. These are some of these states. Education they met there is a disaster. In the first 2 years hence, they've done nothing to improve education, but they've bought luxury SUVs for all kinds of people. So it's about state capture and corruption. Did somebody come to serve? If you didn't come to serve, forget it. Now, it's not a Nigerian problem. All over Africa, including, let me not name too many countries, but many of the leaders did not come to serve. They came to capture what belongs to everybody. That's for the common good, for themselves and a narrow elite. Until we solve that problem, we will remain in this stew. So you're quoting me in 2012. You can quote me in 2025. The issues will not change. I'm not one of those people when you're out of government, you fight against fuel subsidy. When you're in government, you advocate fuel subsidy. That's part of Nigeria's and Africa's problem. People take positions not based on the truth, but based on what a personal agenda they are pursuing. So I'll be the first one to give credit to this government for removing the fuel subsidy, which some of us started calling for from the very first economic summit over 30 years ago. But the same president must take the blame for sabotaging the efforts to remove the fuel subsidy in the past, in 2012. The speeches are there. So, but they say it's the best time to have planted a tree was 25 years ago. The second best time is now. So let's focus on the now. The important thing is that the government has done the correct thing in terms of removing an unaffordable subsidy. The same government has done the correct thing, which has been done before, to give us what I will consider to be largely market-determined exchange rates, which gives you some exchange rate stability. So you asked me, what would I have done differently? Anybody with the right brain on his head would have done those two things. But guess what? How long does it take to do those things? I can mention previous central bank governors. On a particular day, Abdulkadir Ahmed moved the exchange rate from 1 to 1 to 4 to 1. There was market-determined exchange rates. On the different day, the exchange rate moved from 8 to 1 to 18 to 1, and we had equilibrium. Under past CBN governors like my friend here, we had market-determined exchange rates largely. So that's a one-day action. You bite the bullets on the first day. What differentiates you thereafter is your subsequent actions. So those measures improve fiscal balance. They give all three tiers of government so much more revenue. And that's where the problem starts. What is the point of giving a thief more revenue if he's only going to steal it? So across all the local governments of Nigeria, across every state government and at the federal level, the real test is what is being done with that revenue in their hands. Is that revenue supposed to be used to fuel 400 cars to escort the president to the airport and burn all the revenue in the process? Is that what you did it for? Let me tell you what the correct thing was. The real difficulty, the real action, the real result was to help to eliminate poverty, was to get the economy functioning. As soon as you did those two things, which could be done, each of them, it takes a day, an announcement, it's your subsequent actions. When the economic summit turned 25 years, I was in this same room. I recommended that the government then should remove fuel subsidy. I also said, but as soon as you do it, the following day, even the day before, start distributing cash to the poorest Nigerians. They all have names. The national ID card is a payment-enabled instrument. If you gave every poor person in Nigeria, poor adult, 5,000 Naira, and you remove subsidy, for a man who was getting zero, he's just received 5,000. So, but if you remove the subsidy, the finance minister is right. They gave, I think it was 8 million people have received transfers. What is 8 million out of 230 million? That's where the problem is. There are countries where when they did their cash transfers, it was to all the poor people in the country immediately. So I'm answering your question only, what should have been done differently? I'm not saying it's achievable in 24 hours. But these are the things that have caused the pain. And all this talk about, after the pain comes the gain. It is true if after the pain, you carry out all the other supporting reforms to improve efficiency, improve government spending. People talked about trying to implement, to eliminate wastage and so on. But if after the pain, what you do is to continue reckless spending that is going on all over the nation, then that pain can go on forever. So it's not true that gain follows pain. Gain follows pain only if you are doing the right things after putting the pain in place. And it's the same too with exchange rate. So now, we have an economic system. I'll be fair. This economy works very well for people who are friends of the government because they can invest, and when the obstacles come, they have the clout to negotiate their way through all those obstacles. But we want an economy where you don't need to know the government to invest here and do business. Now, I'm not criticizing this government. This was the challenge that any and every government that took those measures was supposed to address immediately after. So I can clap for you for market-determined exchange rates. I can clap for you for removing fuel subsidy. Those are one-day actions. If you want me to keep on clapping for you, show me the rest of your actions after those two things. Because those are the things that make the big difference between investor confidence, creating an environment where people feel they can invest, you're looking after the poor, and all the supportive things that were required.
In fairness to Jonathan, he took the right decision. And look, I'm not a fan of Jonathan. He suspended me from my job, okay? So okay? But you have to commend him, okay? President Jonathan took the advice and agreed to remove subsidy. As a government, we all agreed to remove the subsidy, and we're determined to remove the subsidy. The only reason we stopped at 50%, like I said, was the threat to people's lives. Now, but to your question, why do Nigerian leaders not listen? What my experience, okay, with talking to many of the leaders is they listen to so many people and they decide that they're going to accept those that tell them what they want to hear. We have too many sycophants in government. Look, you need to, when I got to, you sit in a meeting and the president is there and people are speaking and the first thing they say is, Mr. President, I would like to thank you for your leadership to this country. In fact, you know, God has blessed Nigeria by making us your leader. If you were not there, I don't know where we would be. By the time these people lay this foundation, it is their advice that the president takes. Okay? People like me who would say, Mr. President, there are some things that are wrong. When you leave, they say you are his enemy. Okay? So the problem is that when leaders allow themselves to be surrounded by praise singers and by sycophants, they never get good advice. So people like Atedo and myself are always enemies of state because people don't like hearing the bad news. There was nothing we didn't say to Buhari about printing money, about ways and means, about the exchange rate, about subsidy. But every time you spoke about the economy, it was seen as a personal attack against the president. And there are people around him who convinced him that this person is your enemy. That's why he's saying this. Okay. So we need to begin to ask as leaders, who do we surround ourselves with? And please, those who are ministers and those who speak to the president, it is not to your benefit to turn yourselves, you disgrace yourselves, you debase yourselves by turning yourselves into praise singers. The point you made about young people saying that there is no elite in Nigeria is extremely important. Because it's Aruma.
Sorry, I'm worrying about the Honorable Minister leaving us.
No, the minister will listen to the Emir for 30 seconds. And
no, I wanted him to be here for longer. I wanted him to be here for the book presentations.
Okay.
But I know we've kept him very
All right,
long.
so I'll just, you know, actually the word is that Nigeria is a classless society. If you take the people you call leaders, go to the Senate, go to the House of Reps, you can go and pick 109 Nigerians at random without election. Put them in the Senate chambers, and the results may not be different from what you're getting now. Okay? Because the truth is, you have highly educated people in government, but they behave like illiterates. They forget their education behind. When you talk about praise singing, why would a man who is an educated man, an accomplished man, why would he be a praise singer to anyone? Why would he not be able to face his boss and say, Oga, we're not doing that, this is the truth? And why would a person in authority not have the confidence to listen to those around him and take criticism? Okay. So you've got people who are supposed to be the representatives of the values of society. By the time you become a governor, honestly, you should be beyond looking for money. You have been given an opportunity to take care of the lives of millions of people, to educate children, to save lives, to provide health care, to build infrastructure. All you are thinking of is a car, a house. I mean, are you that cheap? Or some bank account, and you see them, and at the end of the day, they leave office. After a few years, they die, and the children are fighting over the money. Then they get the money, and then they go on drugs, and everything is wasted. That money would have been better spent educating millions of young people and saving lives. So if we really want to fix this country, we need to have a class. The ruling class needs to have values. Values beyond stomach infrastructure. Where the problem is what Atedo has mentioned, is the expenditure side.
Yes.
Okay? The quality of spending. And some of these things, we've got to be honest with ourselves. Look, why do we need 48 ministers? Why do we need dozens of vehicles when we're moving around in convoys or traveling all over the country? I would go along with Atedo and say you've got to look at overheads. You've got to look at things like your contract processing, procurement process, okay? There's still questions about inflated contracts. There are questions about transparency. There are questions, all this money is coming into the federal, and this at federal, state, and local level, there are serious questions about how the money that is being raised is being used. And the arithmetic is simple. If you stop paying subsidy, why are we still borrowing more? Because if you've filled a hole, we should have the revenue to fund expenditure. But we fill in one hole and dig in a bigger hole. So this government needs to look at institutions. It needs to look at the quality of spending. It needs to understand that if you keep making more money and keep blowing it away, you're going to undo what you have done. If Nigerians had allowed the Jonathan government to remove the subsidy in 2011, there would have been pain. But that pain would have been a very, very tiny fraction of what we are facing today. This is the cost of delay. At that time, we worked out the numbers in the central bank, and I stood up and put my credibility on the line and said, remove the subsidy today, inflation moves up from 11% to 13%. I will bring it down in a year. We will not have had 30-something% inflation. Okay? That was where we were. Now, people like my friend Emir here and his APC friends had Occupy Nigeria, came out on the streets, told us we could not do it. And I remember calling one of my friends. And this is, we should talk about these things because it's important. There's a kind of poetic justice. That it is actually the people who led the Occupy Nigeria movement who ended up seeing the problem, inheriting the problem, and having to do it. And I remember calling one of my friends at that time and saying, look, one of my closest friends, saying, you know that what we're doing is right. He said, yes, I know. I said, why? He said, well, I'm in opposition. My job is to make the government look bad. You know, you are the governor of central bank, you go and defend your government. Just politics. And you know, the only reason the government compromised at that time, maybe we should know this, the only reason the government compromised and did 50% or to 100% was Boko Haram. Because there were thousands of Nigerians on the streets in Lagos and Kano and Kaduna and all that. At the time when we had suicide bombers in the country. And there was a fear. If one day one of these suicide bombers goes to these Nigerians and explodes the bomb and you have 200 corpses, it will no longer be about subsidy. So you have to give President Jonathan the credit. He was determined to do it, but at the end of the day, the compromise was made, okay, to save Nigerian lives.
China, over the years, invested 24% of its GDP in infrastructure. At best, we do 4 to 5%. If we want to bridge the infrastructure deficit in our nation, we would have to do at least 12%. Nigeria, I'm told, has 40 minerals. And Dr. Fayemi, you were Minister of Solid Minerals, and we were in Cairo together a few days ago, and you were telling me some of the things that you had done to try and do better in terms of the mineral sector in Nigeria. But there are 40 minerals that we can exploit in commercial quantities. Why aren't we exploiting those 40 minerals in commercial quantities? Why are minerals still in the exclusive list of the federal government? Why can't we have it be decentralized so that every state can produce the minerals in their own state? Why aren't we decentralizing a nation of 230 million people? I see Dr. Lugbenga Adeshina here, who lives in Cape Verde. There are 500,000 people living in Cape Verde. And we have states that are bigger than 500,000. There's no state that is smaller than 500,000. So why can't we decentralize the management of things, including our mineral sector, so that we can diversify this economy, so that we can have more of a revenue base? The Minister of Budget and Planning had talked, Honorable Minister, about the point you made about the Ward Development Project. I applaud you for the Ward Development Project. What I understand is that the idea is that for every ward, you'll focus on the business opportunities in that ward. So we'll be watching to see that you will implement that initiative.
Africa's biggest problem has been the failure of leadership. What separates Africa from many other continents is not colonialism, because they had that in Asia as well. Even within Africa, what separates some countries like Rwanda is leadership. And I think leadership failure has been Africa's portion. And I know that the focus here is on Nigeria, but I want us to really ask ourselves, because people in this room are part of what I was called the top 1% of Nigerians, in almost all respects, definitely in terms of income and other things. So what is it that we need to do to ensure that we have good leadership? Please, if you notice, I'm talking broadly. I didn't say leadership only in Nassau Rock. I'm talking about leadership across the entire spectrum. What makes some countries in Europe function, what makes some in Asia function, is good leaders at various levels. In China, you cannot appear at the very top unless you have been a good leader, a proven leader at various levels earlier. In Nigeria, somebody who has been a failure all his life will suddenly find himself being uplifted and given a leadership position that he barely understands. Now, we can excuse the days of the military, and I actually love the fact that there are several past very senior military rulers, including some who have been head of state, who actually confess that the problem they see is that it was about 5-10 years after they were in their highest position of authority that they now actually became ready to be leaders. So they were thrust into a position of leadership at the time when they knew little or nothing and were not even remotely prepared. Now, if you can blame the military for that, but since the return of democracy, the leadership that we get at all levels is in the hands of the Nigerian people. So we must take responsibility. If in my LGA there is poor leadership, I must be partly responsible, because part of my contribution to Nigeria is supposed to help to ensure that we get good leadership at all levels.
We truly can do better. We truly can do better. Every society thrives or falls on the strength of the ideas developed and propagated by its thought leaders. The individuals whose opinions direct the ebbs and flows of public conversation, morality, and values. The development gap that exists between nations is clearly not about quantity of mineral resources buried beneath its soil, or the presence or absence of other natural body of advantages. And this is not to make light of part of the objectives of this colloquium today, which is about Africa's mineral resources. But I argue that no matter how much mineral resources you have, if you do not have the right leadership, you will not make a lot of progress. After about 100 years of development studies, it has been proven that natural resources, when not paired with the requisite human intellect to make the most of it, can in itself become an albatross to a society's development aspirations. Everyone in this room knows perhaps a dozen countries around the world that developed with minimal income from crude mineral extraction. In the same vein, I'm also certain that all of us know another dozen countries or more that are blessed with abundant natural resources, and yet genuine development remains elusive. It then follows that prosperity requires more than just huge deposits of raw materials. Long-term progress is initiated and sustained by the discipline of leadership, the power of ideas, and the courage of execution. Development is therefore a human function a rigorous intellectual exercise, and the end product of a blistered hands. It is not for nothing that societies that seek progress prioritize education and human capital development. For without a critical mass of individuals committed to making the most of the natural resources found within their environment, the largest deposits of precious minerals will only amount to little and could actually trigger undesirable outcomes. The good news, however, is that no matter how far off a society may have strayed from the path of progress, there's always a way back. For no destiny is final, and no course is irreversible. Today, we have gathered for what is effectively a rich festival of ideas and harvest of brilliance in the diverse front lines of human commitments. I'm impressed with the general sense of gratitude in acknowledging that we are a blessed people. It is also noble that even in our gratitude, we have clearly not lost sight of the fact that on several scores, we have betrayed the lofty dreams that inspired our fathers to fight for an independent Nigeria. It is my considered view that we are still not too far gone to rediscover the promise of Nigeria and rise collectively to take our place in destiny. Let me on this note thank the founder of the Oxford Global Think Tank, one of our country's brightest experts, Professor Aruma Oteh, ON, for convening this event and for the excellent use of her platform to consistently point us to the right path. May I use this auspicious occasion to specially appreciate this revolutionary Amazon for her brilliant and peerless contributions to the holistic development of the human community, especially in Nigeria and across Africa. While it is beyond dispute that the former treasurer and vice president of the World Bank has distinguished herself through decades of active leadership and service in development finance, capital market regulation, academia, and human pursuits, her recent gift of a wonderfully written book, All Hands on Deck, Unleash Prosperity Through World-Class Capital Markets, reflects more than anything else her generosity and belief in the power of ideas to transform nations and recover what may have been lost. I was delighted to read through the very critical insights shared in the pages of my sister's new book on how to develop and leverage the capital market to address much of the economic challenges we face as individuals and even more importantly, in the larger society. I like the emphasis on knowledge, understanding how the system works and how nations, organizations, and households can master the flow of the market to grow and preserve wealth across generations. What makes this book truly exceptional is that it was written from a place of experience with important anecdotes that break the technical elements of the discussion down for readers without extensive knowledge of economics and finance. I'm particularly glad that the book offers us a clear path to resource mobilization without the snares that come from borrowing. I consider the book an excellent treatise on economic freedom, preservation of national sovereignty, and integration of domestic financiers into the development matrix. The new book by Aruma, beyond sharing very incisive thoughts on the pathways to prosperity through the capital market, also presents important leadership lessons and new paradigm for national development. I'm glad that this book is coming at a time when our nation appears to be at a crossroad with millions of people uncertain about the future. This is exactly the point where the author's leadership philosophy, anchored on the 4 C's of character, compassion, competence, and courage, has to be adopted as a national template for leadership. At the heart of our challenge is the dysfunctional leadership recruitment template that promotes chaos and mediocrity. The setbacks we have encountered in recent decades are the natural consequences of treating leadership development as a distant concern. We have ultimately become victims of a system that places scant regard on character, treats compassion as evidence of weakness, mistakes arrogance for competence, and promotes the noisy over the truly courageous. As someone who has sat on very important tables in her long career as a development professional and policymaker, Professor Oteh appreciates the pains of missed opportunities, the misery of unrealized potential, and the frustrations of lost momentum. While it would be untrue to suggest that it has been all doom and gloom, one would expect that from the interactions that will take place today and lessons of the new book, we can do much better with the abundance of human and material resources that our country is blessed with. We live in a new era where wealth is tied to knowledge, and there is a lot of advantage for us in this regard. Our people are amongst the most brilliant, innovative, and enterprising individuals in very demanding fields of science, technology, and academia. The human gold mine that you find in Nigeria can effectively transform the social and economic experiences of present and future generations, and ultimately lead the African development renaissance. It does not speak well of our kind that most times the best of us finds the right environment to unleash their brilliance outside our shores. Our route to recovery could actually be found in creating an environment for all of us to thrive right here in our land. This we can do by rebuilding the system to reward excellence, offer equal opportunity to everyone, and create multiple spaces for individuals to live out the full expression of their talents. We may not all agree, but on the evidence of what we have seen in the last 65 years of independence, genuine social and economic development have their foundation in the human mind. Without creating spaces where the mind is nurtured and exposed to noble thoughts, bold ideas, and a higher philosophy of living, all models of development become illusory. This is where education and the structures of learning come into play. Professor Oteh is an excellent proof that quality education, especially at the foundational level, can make a world of difference in what a child becomes. I would therefore insist that the key to unlocking our rich but largely dominant human potential is the restoration of standards and values in the education sector. Beyond recruiting quality teachers, upgrading infrastructure, and instilling a strict culture of discipline in the learning environment, we also have to pay attention to the curriculum development. I would like to specially thank the Federal Ministry of Education for the recent changes in basic and secondary education curriculum. But as I have learned in my interactions, developing an excellent body of curriculum is one thing. Effective implementation is another altogether. To achieve the outcome that we seek, we have to be prepared to cover the entire 9 years. The learning process in our schools must be structured to prepare the next generation for the challenges of the environment they are going to live in, not tie them to the word of their forefathers, except, of course, as lessons in history. The products of our school system should embody excellence, capacity for independent thinking, and, of course, be made to appreciate that education is only valuable when it is applied to a higher objective. Professor Oteh at 60 remains a shining light and a brilliant example of what we are capable of becoming when leadership is driven by the commitment to make an impact. I'm immensely proud of what she has achieved in her long career, but even then, I know that her best years are still ahead. As the governor of Abia State, where she hails from, I often find myself under a lot of pressure to build systems and institutions that will produce more Aruma Otehs in Abia State. This is partly the reason we have continued to commit the largest share of our annual budget to the education sector. For the past 2 consecutive years, thank you. Thank you. For the past 2 consecutive years, 20% of our budgetary provision has gone to the education sector, and we are likely going to remain on that route for the foreseeable future. We have also made education free and compulsory in the whole state. This has resulted in a spike in enrollment, which more than doubled in 3 months. In fact, we had our ESCO yesterday, every Monday, and when we were looking at the numbers, we found that between July and middle of October 2025, that enrollment had increased by 100%. We recently recruited more than 5,000 teachers for the public school systems, and preparations are in place to recruit another batch of 4,000 teachers. We're also committing enormous resources to infrastructure upgrades, security of pupils and teachers, and welfare packages to keep the staff motivated. At the tertiary levels, we are also making diligent efforts to support the holistic development of our students. In the light of the competitive nature of the 21st century environment, the focus in our tertiary institutions has shifted from producing graduates that will be dependent on the system for survival to building leaders who will shape the future of our industries. Another priority area in our governance outlook is healthcare delivery, because it is tied to our broad program of human capital development. Leaning on the 2001 Abuja Declaration, we have consistently set aside 15% of our projected annual public expenditure outlay to healthcare development. And I'm happy to report that the results are beginning to show, with improved access to healthcare for everyone, especially rural dwellers. The target is to have a properly equipped and staffed medical facility within a walking distance in all parts of the state. As a matter of fact, we started with the 200 primary healthcare centers that we just started redeveloping, fixing, and of course, putting the infrastructure in place and the human beings. And we continue functionalizing them one after the other. I think at the last count, we've functionalized over 100, and we'll continue until we have 200 working, and we'll take the next 200 until we have retrofitted the 948 primary healthcare centers in the state. My expectation will be that all of us will live here with a new consciousness and a resolute commitment to model excellence in our individual undertakings. May I also encourage us to get copies of Professor Oteh's book and digest the important lessons it holds in our sustainable wealth creation through knowledge of the capital market and the new leadership paradigm it invites us to. The truth is that we have stayed in the difficult place of mediocrity for too long. At 65, we should be able to stand firmly on our feet and march forward in an unyielding resolve to pay whatever price is required to actualize the great destiny that our nation has called us to.
If you don't know, I beg you, know this now. Tinubu is more the cause of your problem that you're going through right now. If you're a Nigerian that is living in Nigeria, Tinubu is more the cause of your problems than all of the witches and wizards and all your village people and the devil combined. Tinubu is more the cause of your problem. And the earlier you know this, the better it will be for you. Why? Because the earlier you know this, the earlier you will find the solution. And when you implement the solution, your problem will be solved. I'll prove it to you that Tinubu is the cause of your problem in this video. In fact, by the time I am done, you will agree with me that there should be a law. There should be a law that we should stop blaming witches and wizards in the village or even the devil for the problems that Nigerians have. We should stop it. Anybody who comes to tell you that, oh, your business is not moving, you are 40 years, you are not married, you are married for 10 years, no children, you are graduate now for 10 years, no job. In fact, the only jobs that are available, you are doing POS business. Business is not moving. You can't pay your bills. You are sick. You are afraid to go to the hospital because you don't have money to do that. The healthcare system is horrible. They say they have fixed it, but they cannot use it themselves. The politicians now. You want to travel to your village. Problem. You are afraid that you might be kidnapped or that there might be an accident because of bad roads, or that the cost of traveling is simply too expensive, you can't afford it. Whatever the problem you're facing now, anybody that tells you that it is the devil or one altar in your village, that person should be charged to court and prosecuted and sent to jail. By the end of this video, it will be clear. These are the problems you have. You have a lady that is 40, she's not married. And then somehow somebody tells her that her problem is one old woman or one old man in her village that has vowed that over her dead body she will not get married. And somebody will even come and tell you, oh, it's the blood. You see, the grandfather of that lady, he was a very wicked man. He killed many innocent people. Now it is the blood of those people that are crying against the lady. That's why she's 40 years old and she's not married. In fact, this blood one is classic. They even say it's because of the blood, the innocent blood that was shed in the civil war of the Igbos and even of the Midwesterns. So it's the innocent blood that are crying out. That is that blood that is responsible for Nigerian not progressing. They forget to tell you that the Europeans and the Americans, they shed 10 times more blood in the First World War, in the Second World War, in the American Civil War, in the French Revolution, Russian Revolution, whatever. They shed more blood. They shed more blood. 10 times more blood than was shed in Nigerian Civil War. And I'm not trying to trivialize the lives that were lost. Far from it. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just trying to put things in perspective. You see, the Americans shed more blood. How come they are still progressing? In fact, they are #1 economy in the world today. How come? In one bomb that they threw in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they killed over 300,000 people. One. In the Second World War, Hitler was rumored to have killed over 20 million people. Today, Germany is the strongest economy in Europe. Why did the blood of those 20 million people that Hitler killed, why didn't he speak to stop the progress of Germany? The millions of people that the Allied forces, which one is Allied now? Which one is Axis? Okay, Allied is the West. The British, the Americans, the millions of lives that blood that they have shed. How come those blood are not speaking against them? They are still going on to develop even deadlier weapons. And their economy is growing. Their citizens are enjoying. Their country is working. Why? If it is blood that is speaking against the development of a country. Now, let's even forget looking at this thing at country level. At individual level, your business is not moving. Instead of thinking, why is it not working? You now believe somebody that tells you that it is one witch in your village and you need to do fasting and prayer and you need to make some sacrifice. You believe them and you do it. Has your business started moving now? Why is the business not moving? Business is not moving for business people. Business is slowing down in Nigeria. Why? Tinubu's policies. Simple. Many of you pride yourself. You say, oh, I don't want to get involved in politics. I don't want to get involved in politics. Politics will get involved with you. If you like, run. Say your own is entertainment. If you like, run. Say your own is education. Oh, you are a traditional person. You just like to face your own tribe. You are an educationist. You are a media. You are a business person. You just want to face your business. You don't want anything to do with politics. My brother, my sister, government policies are deadlier than any devil, any witches, any wizard can be. The reason why your business is not moving is because of the policies of government that has reduced the purchasing power of people. And so they don't have money to buy. Normally, some of you business people, you refuse to get involved in politics because you feel somehow it not concern you. If things hard, you go just add money for your product or your service, for your goods, you go just increase the money. It not concern you. But now you don't see, say, when you increase the money and people not get money to buy, you go they look your goods go they look you. Abi, now you can't they complain, say business they slow. Instead, where you go turn, look, say, why government policy be like this? Where they make my business to slow down. You can't they believe one person where they tell you, say, now one person for your village, now they're responsible. And you know, this thing is very, very painful when you consider that the people that think like this, they are educated, some of them up to doctor level. But today, I'm here to cancel that. Your business can boom if we have a government that has the right policy. Many times you think that we just want to criticize Tinubu for the sake of criticizing him. No. Tinubu represents a group of people that, in my opinion, are being blackmailed to implement policies that will make Nigeria a slave. How will Nigeria be a slave in this 21st century? Anytime Nigeria is a consumption economy, in fact, any consumption economy, go and check it, they are slave economies. They will force you to borrow. Have you forgotten? They say that the borrower is a servant to the lender. So if we are always borrowing, are we not a slave to the people from whom we borrow? They will tell us borrow. And then they will now give us a form of democracy that has been weaponized so that the system is rigged to favor only corrupt people, people that can be manipulated, people that can be blackmailed. And once that system is in place, they will now give you a system that allows for licensed critic. So if we are going to have solution to all of the problems of Nigeria, now to change government too, and the only path to that is to make sure that we force free and fair election on INEC in 2027. Forget all this story where they tell you. Imagine, even Tinubu said, they give speech. They talk, say, I am charging you, INEC, to give us free and fair election. I am charging you to maintain the integrity. Even Tinubu said, they talk. Even the new INEC chairman, Amukwito, they make promises. They don't talk now, say they want to do one AI-powered tab. AI. You know, when they first come, they go do some gra. More than not, they carried away with all these things when even INEC they talk. Because when Mahmoud first come in 2019, now the thing when he do, he first come, talk saying they bring beavers, and they bring IREV, or they go submit the result. And the first election where they first do, that was Edo election, if you not remember, when I go check. That election, everybody begin hail and that one night, Obaseki win. Everybody come they happy, say yes. They defeat incumbent. That time, Obaseki, they for PDP. And then, go. And then, Buhari be president. They come say, the thing work well. Wonderful. We don't know, say, that one a preamble. Distraction. Something will go distract us. After that one, what do we see? The election started going down the line. Under the same Mahmoud Yakubu. Election will be say litigation don't drop to less than 44%. Now, as Mahmoud Yakubu leave, thing don't rise, litigation don't go 86%. Which means there's really no need for the election. Therefore, just say make court decide who go be the elected officials. Now, Amukwito don't come. They give us Lamba, AI-powered tab, beavers. Now go for. They want test them now. I can guarantee you that in Anambra election, they will give you something that looks like not true. Say Soludo na go win. Then you can say, this new INEC chairman, he try you, he bring AI power tab. Now see as everything work. Other one waiting. Lamba. Wait until 2027. If we are going to have free and fair elections in Nigeria, we cannot rely solely and only on INEC. We must have our own people-powered solution. We say now we go do and we not need to depend on INEC for it. And we get them. PU Marshal. PU Marshal will check INEC Sha. He go check Tinubu. They don't want to hear them. So they go they make caricature of PU Marshal now. But they go hear them. They don't want to hear them. They must hear them. They must hear them. 2027 they go hear them. So the long and short of when I talk be this. Tinubu is the cause or the source of your problem. Not be witch, not be wizard. Now Tinubu, they do you. And if you want your problem to be solved, whatever the problem is, whether health, marital, relationship, business, spiritual, whatever the problem is, if you want solution, you must make sure, say, Tinubu and APC come out for 2027. And the only way to do that one, because as you see Tinubu and APC, I not think, say, they won't give any chance for free and fair election. They don't say free and fair election, they don't get chance now. All the signs are there saying are rigging, but you see, we get hope. We get solution. The solution are PU Marshal and Vote Watch. And we need you to volunteer. If you are a sincere Nigerian, you are a honest Nigerian, we don't need everybody. The people where they benefit from the corruption under Tinubu, they're not going to want to make the corruption change. They go want to continue to enjoy that corruption so that they go use the corrupt gotten wealth to buy new car, buy new house, oppress you very well. And the way they want to be that. They not care, say, 99% of the populations are suffering. Now only 1% they enjoy. You not consign them. And that 1% plenty. That's like 2 million. Imagine, say, 2 million people, they buy house, they buy car. You will give the illusion, say, people they enjoy now, money they in Nigeria now. But an illusion. 219 million people, they somewhere they suffer. This solution not be for those people. But if you know, say, you be genuine Nigerian, you want me Nigeria really work. You want Nigeria, because many of us now not even know how Nigeria go fit a work. We don't even know what it means to say we want a Nigeria that works. A Nigeria that works now, Nigeria will be say impunity all day. You don't need to know any big man before you get justice. You don't need to know any big man before you get work. You don't need to know any big man before you live good life. Now, so you day today. Today now you must know big corrupt politician. either as Olosho or as a political puppet, for you to live a good life. Whether you are a business person or whether you are in private or government official, it doesn't matter. All the schools for Abuja, who be the people they pay the big school fees? Who be the people who get money to pay 5 million naira per term for one pikin? If not the person who don't thief government money. So at the end of the day, all of these people no go want talk because they are benefiting from the corruption in the system. You see comedian where they do show, he put table there, 10 million naira. Now who want pay 10 million naira for one table? Now people will be say they don't thief government money or that they work for people who don't thief government money. Now only them you pay that kind of money. So you don't go expect those comedians to come make the system change now. You don't go pay them. So this message is not for everybody. But if you did there, you want Nigeria where be say you don't need to know anybody to get justice. Make everything, make the system they work. We need to show them, say, the government is the people. And you need to volunteer as a polling unit marshal. Now only 600,000 now we need. The link is in the description. I believe very strongly, say 2027, forget. A new Nigeria is possible. You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it.